Crash Course Live is presented by
Smash It Demolition Derbies, who host Bash for Cash, Blizzard Bash, and Capital City Carnage. Online at smashitderby.com. And Stirring Dirt Racing, hosts of Maymania's team show at the Golden Spike Arena in Ogden, Utah. Online at stirringdirtracing.com.
Reckless Abandon Derby Apparel and Derby Inc. Magazine. This is the Crash Course Demolition Derby podcast, recorded live at the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. And now your host, Chris Marquardt.
Good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to this edition of the Crash Course Demolition Derby podcast. Excited to have you along for the ride tonight, episode number 425 on deck, as we've got the Carolina Derby Promotions crew joining us here to hang out for a little while. And we're looking ahead in a little over a month now. We are going to be in Florence, South Carolina to take in Palmetto Destruction at the Florence Center, and that's the latest evolution of Carolina Derby Promotions events. We've got Billy Monroe and Jason Padgett joining us for this episode, and you know what, I was thinking back, as much fun as we had during our February travels in years past, this is probably the warmest option that I've ever had on the travel schedule for the month of February when it comes to demolition derbies.
Yeah, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that we're not going to experience any negative temperatures while we're in South Carolina. The one thing that always got me though is we would come home and it would always be snowing in Syracuse.
And we would have to dig the cars out, right?
Do you remember descending down through the clouds? No. And as we're descending, you can see the snowplows running wide open down the landing strip. And Chris very gently reaches up and pulls down the shade to not watch it. I said, Chris, I don't think that's going to save you. And then we drove home with a bunch of snow from there. But
nope.
No, it's going to be different.
Do you remember, they weren't only running wide open down the runway, they were running four across wide open down the runway. And we're not talking your dad's snowplow either. These were like those convoy trucks, what are they, the 6x4s?
Yeah,
like they were using to clear the interstate when the thruway was closed.
Yeah,
that was not a fun experience, but nonetheless.
No, looking forward to it. I saw some after videos last year. Brett Relier put on a hell of a show down there. Looking forward to it. I've heard a bunch of names that are going.
Brett Relier, isn't that Corey Relier's brother?
Yeah, that's Corey Relier's brother, Brett.
Just making sure.
Rumor has it Corey's going to be going as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a rumor. So I've heard a lot of big names going.
Is he going to bring any cage fighting with him?
I hope not. I hope not. But looking forward to it. Great show last year. A lot of action. Great facility. I've talked to numerous guys, and they said it is a beautiful facility. Great place for a derby. The track is definitely big enough to get after it. So, it's going to be a good time.
It's going to be a great time. So, Billy and Jason are joining us as well, and I don't really know immediately where to start, but I guess probably the facility would be a wise place at this point. One of the biggest things that we've run into with all of the advent of the indoor era of demolition derby is the track surface, and it's not like when we go down to Florida where we're fighting a high sand content or where you're susceptible to the amount of moisture. You actually have clay in South Carolina, and I was just wondering kind of what you guys were doing in terms of bringing the surface in, and also what the Florence Center was like to work with. I mean, did they know what they were getting themselves into in terms of having a demolition derby indoors, beyond just what you were able to pull up and show us an example and say, this is what we want to do with the demolition derby, this is what it looks like indoors, but we want to do it at your place. So how was their reception, and what did they think?
Well, they really enjoyed it, but they had no idea what they were getting into, I don't think. When we first went, they thought maybe just a handful of cars, I think.
Right.
It blew them away when everybody showed up. Great place to work with. They try to help the promoter. A lot of times we go to places and it's some of these venues you're fighting them, but down there that they really try to help and try to make it easy on everybody. As for the dirt, they actually have it out back, and they got a big hole, and they just bring it in. And when we got down there last year, we got there on Thursday, and we packed the track in all day, and with skid steers, and it really held up good. We were tickled with the way the track done for us last year. Hopefully, we can do the same this coming.
The ceiling looked like it was really low. It seemed like it was a low facility in the pictures, but in all the pictures and all the video and stuff that I've seen, it looked like the ventilation system must be state of the art because there was nothing that was hanging around.
Yeah, it definitely looked like that was working well for them.
How tough was the sell? I mean, it seems to me like that happens a lot when you talk about bringing a demolition derby to a particular facility or bring demolition derby like what you're looking at doing with Palmetto and the evolution of Carolina Derby promotions. They're accustomed to the almost like the circle track type attraction demolition derby where there's a handful of cars and whatever comes kind of runs, and that's the stigma that you guys are working, as many other promoters are, to break that. And what was their initial expectation in terms of what the show was and the cars were, and has their eyes been opened a little bit?
I think it has. And where we was lucky is the venue actually contacted us about hosting a derby, so they were.
Hang on. Whoa. Wait. Wait a second.
I don't know if I've ever heard that before.
I know that you're going to answer the question, and it was going to be eloquent, but that doesn't happen, at least that I've ever come across.
That's
so they
awesome.
Contacted you guys.
They did. We done a little local magazine article, interview for it, and somebody there picked up the magazine, and they contacted us just out of the blue, and I thought, well, yeah, this probably ain't gonna happen, but it was a blessing. I mean, it just everything worked out great.
That's awesome.
Well, the rest of my questions don't matter at this point. So
That's terrific.
I mean, that's why it is so important. And I know Dustin Wood's been talking about the importance of media in terms of Demolition Derby, and we've got some new stuff that's been in the works with Smash It, what they're working on, and some of the initiatives they put out there. Obviously, Mark Klein with the Derby builds and stuff, and all of those things. And keeping Demolition Derby in the conversation of Demolition Derby Life magazine. But this is the same vacuum at times. I think even kind of with what we're doing, we're a little bit fortunate, but you still find ourselves in that vacuum, just like motorsports was with Aerial Racing News or with Gator Racing News when it was around, or sometimes even Race Pro Weekly. That Dirt Track Digest has been able to break out of is you end up preaching to a captive audience, which is great, but you're still just preaching to a captive audience. And if you can find a way to break outside of that, kind of like what we just had described here, we're seeing the city of Topeka. We go to Blizzard Bash, they're embracing Demolition Derby more, and the city is talking about it. There's articles written about it now. Now at times it's talking about how much damage was done to the grass out in front of the Stormont Vale Event Center.
That's
but at the same time, they're still talking about it. So,
That's happening.
But I mean, the importance of that one local article and being able to fall in front of the right eyes shows that there is still value in local media.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I know, I've said it, and I will continue to say it, that there's importance in advertising in front of a captive audience. And if you're going to spend your advertising dollars, you should be spending your advertising dollars in front of a market that's going to give you the best return on your investment. The casual fan's not going to buy into the indoor derby, but when you have promoterships, when you have facilities that are looking to add things to their schedule and their menu, that's the kind of thing that happens. And man, that is so cool. I don't know how I didn't realize that. All the conversations that we've had with Todd and everything about running down there, I didn't realize that they had approached you guys. So what was their pitch? They said, "Hey, come and do a derby here." I mean, was it as simple as that?
Yeah, pretty much. They said, they seen it and they said that they thought it'd be a good fit for the area down there, and we got with them on some dates, and it, we used to do we still have to do it again, the Blue Ridge Bash in Virginia.
That was in Wytheville, right?
Yeah. And it kind of, it was close to that derby. We were sort of afraid. South Carolina's not really a big derby area, so we was afraid if people would travel. There's actually a guy that lives about 20 minutes from the Florence Center. He said he derbies. He goes everywhere. He said he had never derbied in the state of South Carolina, and he lives in South Carolina.
Who was that?
Jesse Hardy.
Okay.
So we knew everybody coming would have to travel. To the participants, and we just tried it and went out on a limb, and everything seemed to go good.
And
I think
when we
something
went to
that
the
helps
facility
too is-
for the first time to view it and everything, they invited us down one weekend when they were having a rodeo, and they just talked to us, and they were up for anything we needed to prep for the event. They were up to doing as far as moving stuff.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think something that helps or will help going forward is the location. I mean, South Carolina, you're generally far enough south where it's a little bit warmer than most of the guys in the Northeast or even the West have experienced.
Right.
And who hasn't, who doesn't have the itch to be smashing stuff by the middle of February.
With half the drive.
Yeah, with half the drive. So, it's definitely, I think going forward, I think that's something that's really going to help. And like, we've touched on, everything I saw from the show last year, it was a great track. They didn't run into the sand. They didn't run into the soft clay. It was, it was a fast-paced derby. There was a lot of good action. So, and I mean, I'll be honest, and if I wasn't talking to these guys, I would still say the same thing is, I didn't hear any real negatives from the show.
Right.
I didn't hear complaints about the inspection. So, I think it's obviously got a lot of good things going for it. Mm-hmm. I just hope it continues to grow. I mean, anytime you can get Derby someplace new where it hasn't been or, isn't as big and, you can stir up local interest. I mean, like you mentioned, Topeka loves Demolition Derby because it brings a boatload of money into Topeka. This may never be that big, but I mean, it can still help the local economy. I mean, people got to have a place to stay. They got to have a place to eat, part stores, all that good stuff.
Yeah, I think the part stores aren't ready.
Well, definitely. I'm sure they don't have, parts for 76 Chevys and all that stuff. Well, unfortunately, I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of newer style Vics, so everybody carries that garbage. But
it's actually
I think it can
area
be
too. There's about 7 or 8 hotels within walking distance. I know you go some places out of town and you got to drive 30 minutes to a hotel. There's 10 to 15 restaurants, a mall across the street, so it's a real good area.
Just for what it's worth, way back when, years ago, when my grandmother and grandfather, my mom's parents, used to go to Florida, they would go and spend a month with my grandfather's brother and some siblings down there in Bradenton, and it was clockwork. They were going to stop in Florence because there's the Howard Johnsons there. I don't think there's any Howard Johnsons left. But when we went down with a family trip a couple times, we went over like April break. It was the same thing. Man, the go spot was Florence. You had to make sure you stop in Florence.
That's
right. And I don't know if that was just a thing that happened to fit their triptych that they got from AAA, or what the deal was. But to know that there's that much, that there's that many different places to stay is a sign that probably more than just they knew about it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
I still think it's funny that Florence keeps popping up like this.
Yeah, no kidding. So how are things looking at your guys' end? I mean, I've heard rumors that the classes are pretty full and there's a lot of interest. How's it looking from your end?
Yeah, everything's full. We do still have a few spots in the 2-man extreme and the youth full size, but everything else is full with a waiting list and everything, really. So it's looking good on that end.
That's got to make you feel pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. That's you always kind of worry, what you're going to have, but we've been fortunate. And the interest has really been up this year, so I think it's going to be a good show.
Now, how was the attendance last year as far as spectators for being a first year and just trying it out down there? How was the attendance?
It was okay. It was, I'm going to say, majority was Derby people. Still had a few just spectators, but I mean it was decent. I think it's going to grow. Moving it to 2 nights, I think it's going to help us. Just get people in there for a weekend trip out of it.
Cool.
But the venue was happy. I mean, the venue was happy with the amount of people we got, and they were like, let's do it bigger next year. So
That's awesome.
Well, if the venue's happy, the bookkeepers are happy, then the rest of it really doesn't matter, right?
Absolutely.
So on episode number 425, Todd wanted to hold the big surprise for you to this one. As you heard them say, the 2-man extreme class, there's still some openings in that one. And while the 2-man extreme class is on track, Todd's going to, and I don't remember who he said was going to cover the commentary for us while we are not going to be in a 2-man car. And you got a little nervous there for a second.
I just wonder where you're going. It's all good.
No, that 2-man extreme class is going to be nuts down there. I'm excited about that. That's going to be part of the Saturday program, Most Wanted Fine Arts in the stock. Front-wheel drives are going to be on Friday along with the qualifying heats. The consies are on Saturday night. So the 2-night program, certainly a card that's filled pretty full. And there's going to be a little bit of something for everybody. I like that it's I've said this 1,000 times, and I think these guys are doing it right. They took their purse, they spread it back through. It's $5,000 to win, so it takes some of that pressure out of that $10,000 to win, that $15,000, that $20,000 to win type stuff. It's $5,000 to win. They're paying pretty good back through the top 5, which is great. The standalone classes look like they've got pretty good purses as well. So really, there's a lot of stuff that's going right, and the venue's behind the growth, and that's
awesome.
such a big part of it right there. Just the fact that the infrastructure in Florence can support the expansion as it grows, and then the facility itself is into it. So I mean, the sky at this point just seems like it's the limit.
You know, I'm a big fan of paying well back through the finish as well. You know, I've had discussions with different guys, and they're like, well, you know, I don't come here to run second. You're right. Nobody comes here to run second.
But you're not getting more cars for that $7,500 boost.
Yeah, but, you know, when you finish second and get, you know, $100, you're not going to be as excited as if you finish second and get, you know, let's say $1,000. Like, it's that $1,000 is going to do more for you. And, you know, when you're going forward, you're going to go, man, you know, I got a decent shot of making a little money, you know, paying for my gas, paying for, you know, it'll turn into a free weekend getaway, something like that.
Let's hope.
I'm a big, I'm a big fan of paying farther deeper in. Plus, I mean, if we're being honest, history says the more you pay to win, the less action is on track.
More money, more problems.
And again, you know, I'm beating the dead horse. I can sit and watch guys, you know, play chess with cars. It doesn't bother me. It's, you know, driving is driving. But I'll also say that I'm much more happy to watch guys run around wide open, just knocking each other's, you know, blocks off. So I think it's a great idea to pay deeper through. You know, I feel like the more drivers that come away happy, the more drivers you're going to have talking to their friends. Hey, man, you should come down here and run this. You know, if I win and you finish second, or, you know, I get second, you get third. I mean,
right.
we can bring the money back to the hometown, and that's, you know, that's what happens. Is, you know, I feel, you know, where Derby is, word of mouth is very big. If a show, a promoter, an inspection gets a bad rep,
Big time.
it's going to travel like wildfire.
Mm-hmm.
On the flip side, if a promoter, an inspection, you know, a show gets good, then that's also going to carry. So, you know, like I said, I haven't heard anything negative. So, you know, I hope this year is even better, and hopefully the action is nonstop like it was last year.
And you know, going back to the purse in the main in the full size class, if it all goes south, the Mad Dog pays $1,000 in that class. So let her eat.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely.
If it all goes south.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah. we've seen that decision made before.
Yeah. On one occasion.
Immediately coming to mind was Jonathan Mavis when Muse decided he was going to win that, and he still ended up second or third with it.
Yeah, that wagon. I don't know.
It was
after the Siopa wagon, that might be the worst I ever saw a wagon tore up.
It was in rough shape.
Holy cow! He did a video that night for the the endurance of a Collier motor. Man, that thing was, and he went there with every intention of winning, and then there was a few guys in this heat that didn't think he should continue trying to win. And man, that was a great show. That's last year. Brett Rellier went down there, and it's funny. He said it was Preston's fault. He said Preston was picking on him, and you don't drive hard enough, Dad. Why don't you hit hard enough? And Brett said I had to go out there and show him that I could do it. And he was telling me the story again as we're standing in his garage surrounded by 200 trophies. And I'm like, I'd trade, a few of my Mad Dogs for some of these winners. But, Brett's got to make.
Did it take Brett a second to get acclimated to that wide open thing? Did he still try and hold back on, or did he decide from the get-go?
Yeah, you can. And I've mentioned it before. When you see Brett sitting upright and straight in that car and his head is tilted down, somebody's going to get knocked out of their seat. I've seen it firsthand. It's happened to me. But yeah, you can tell when he's decided what game plan he is going after.
We do have to squeeze in a couple of breaks through the course of the time. If you guys don't mind hanging out with us for a minute or two, we're going to share with you some content that was sent to us from Smash It Demolition Derby and run through our first block, and then we'll be right back with Billy Monroe and Jason Padgett after this.
Wait, you.
Demolition Derby Life magazine releases 12 copies a year and covers all of the action coast to coast for the Demolition Derby world, home of the hottest action motorsports magazine on the market. There's over 30 editions that have been published to date. A full-year subscription is $119, and past issues are available. They should be coming out with another release here in the coming weeks. Make sure you jump online and follow along. Find out more about Lexi Joes and everything going on with Demolition Derby Life magazine on demolitionderbylife.com.
Jeffy's Fab Farm in Fredericksburg, Virginia specializes in all of your demolition derby needs. We've got you covered from bumper to bumper. Whether you need headers, shifters, harnesses, fueling systems, or complete turnkey setups, Jeffy'sFabFarm.com can help. We've even got a Canadian branch to help our northern customers. With over 16 years in the industry, we've got the knowledge and experience needed to provide the highest quality parts and put you in the winner's circle. Visit our website today or call Jeff at 540-907-3390. Fabby says the best parts come from the farm. Jeffy'sFabFarm.com.
And we are back. We got Billy Monroe and Jason Padgett joining us with Carolina Derby Promotions, talking about Palmetto Destruction, which is coming up on the 17th and the 18th of February. Set it at a great time. And I was a little surprised to learn that it almost sounds like South Carolina is an underserved area in terms of demolition derby, and the driver that's so close to the Florence Center had never been afforded the opportunity, maybe, because you look not that far north of where Florence is, and you've got Jonathan Furr and Nathan Case and Nick Nicastro that are moving cars all the time, and I think James Sisko was down in that area for a time as well.
Yep.
And North Carolina and Southern Virginia has a real healthy.
Yeah.
Even Eastern Tennessee has a healthy derby position back with the indoor derbies that were happening with at White Pine and Winter War Zone. So I'm surprised to learn is demolition derby that sparse a thing in South Carolina?
Yeah, I mean there's just there's a few fairs still left that have some derbies, but other than that, it's
A couple of dirt tracks.
yeah, a couple dirt tracks, and that's about it. They have to travel to North Carolina, and Georgia's really not got a lot either, so they can't
Right.
travel that way. So
I
we
had-
get a lot of those guys in North Carolina to come up and run for us.
I hadn't come across much demolition derby in Georgia.
No.
That I kind of knew about, but at least in my awareness, talking with James Sisko and that's Butch's son, who was down there for a while. It sounded like, at least in the conversations that I had, and then Joker too. Joker kind of spoke about this a couple times. Matt Greshel, that JM Productions had a pretty good foothold in the Carolinas, but it sounds like they've got it only in the Carolina.
Yeah, they still do. They still have some stuff. I think they've got the Raleigh show,
Mm-hmm.
and they might have a few others, but kind of toward our end of the state, we're about it as far as derby promoters. So and we do a couple dirt track deals down in South Carolina, but other than that, there's no fairs or anything left in our area.
That's crazy.
So we're actually about 5 minutes from the North South Carolina line. So we're pretty close.
It would just seem to me like there would be derbies all over down there. I mean, there's at one point there was an abundance of cars because guys were hauling them up here like it was their job.
Well, that's why there's no derby anymore, because Aaron Bunce brought them all up to Hemlock.
But man, you would. But we've talked with Joe JC Molly's. We've talked with him before. He's tried to get stuff going in Florida, and he's talked about just not many guys do that. It's weird. I mean, I would say that's got to be almost like the I don't want to say dead zone, but I mean, if we think about it, I mean, we've heard about derbies from kind of all over the country. I mean, from Washington to California,
Through California.
Mexico, Texas, middle states, Missouri, Nebraska, obviously Kansas. I mean, we've Illinois, Dakota, North.
You can almost follow those two latitude lines
Yeah.
across from the top of the Carolinas all the way across. You pick up a little bit of Arkansas there, but we haven't heard about a lot going on in Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
Haven't heard a lot going on in Texas necessarily. Joe was trying to do some stuff with, I think it was Outlaw Promotions out there. Arizona's been fairly quiet. Arizona, there was one derby in Vegas that we knew about, but it wasn't really. It didn't gain the traction to repeat. But we've heard about California and Montana, at the Canadian
obviously.
border, Utah for sure, the Dakotas and stuff. But yeah, there's these two arcs across the country where all the cars have been taken out of and shipped to the rest of the continental U.S. I guess it's just a weird way that all fell out. But at the same time, with JM having the hold that they do with what they allow in terms of their rule books, what they allow the teams to do or the builders to do in the Carolinas is different than what they're accustomed to seeing here in New York.
Oh yeah.
The rules are a little bit more builder friendly. Is that something that you guys kept in mind when you were starting to put this together and listening to what the conversations were beyond North Carolina and what you guys were accustomed to seeing build-wise? Were you trying to make it more of a builder's class? Did you want to keep it more stock to kind of draw more builders in? What was the thought process there?
Well, I think you just need to have, in my opinion, I think you need to kind of have a class for everybody. You want to have a class for somebody that wants to spend $500, find a front wheel drive, and not do a whole lot. And then, we've got our 80 stock.
Mm-hmm.
You can do a little more. Then we've got our full size, which it's going to be similar to like Dead Man's Limited Weld or something along those lines. So I just think, in our eyes, just have a class that, because everybody's not going to start out wanting to build a limited weld car.
Right.
Let them get their feet wet and let them, go up a class and figure out what they want to do. So that's the way we look at it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's I think that's an excellent way of looking at stuff. You're not going to get everybody that wants to run one class. And, it's good to have a nice variety. We've seen promoters, kind of emulate that same thing. We've seen some that have tried to overdo it, and real heavy builds, and it just, it didn't take off. So I definitely think you're right. You got to have, a nice broad spectrum. But do you ever? Go ahead.
I disagree with you. It has to be done right.
No,
And
I was just going to ask because we've seen before where, sometimes there's 73 classes.
There's 73 classes, and there's too many cooks in the kitchen because you start getting people that want to dual enter. You're asking questions about one car, and they get answered by the other, and the waters get so muddy so quickly that the promoters get themselves in trouble. It has to be done right.
Yes,
so,
I agree.
So by putting some moderators on that and keeping a good handle on the reins, it can be something that allows it. Otherwise, you get into a situation like we've been to some of these fairs where there's something for everybody, and then you get to a point where that something for everybody results in 5 cars per class, and it gets so watered down that everybody gets so frustrated.
That's just what I was going to ask these guys. Did you, changes you've made from last year to this year? Is that talking to drivers, guys that possibly wanted to enter? I mean, what was your decision? And what made you guys decide to have the classes you are this year? I mean, you two got together and talked, or was it from talking to other people, or how'd you come up with the lineup you have?
Oh well, we've had fairly the same classes, and besides just a few things, our rules are pretty much the same from last year.
We try to not change the rules. We try to keep them the same way throughout the year, and then revise them at the end of the year.
Awesome.
And like we went to in the full size class, had a complaint from a lot of drivers about breaking bells, transmissions. So we did go to Ultra Bell, but we didn't. We thought that would be okay, but we didn't let them go to.
Trying to protect.
Yeah, we didn't do all that, but So you just we just kind of take in the feedback and figure out what we think's best for everybody all around,
And we'd like to see the cars being.
Yeah.
I mean.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Big fan.
For sure. That's a good approach. I liked the idea when there was a couple of promoters a couple of years ago, and I can't remember who it was. Guarantee a 3-year lock on the rules. No changes for 3 years. And I don't remember who did it, and I apologize for it. That was a great idea on paper. But what that wasn't going to allow for is the evolution of the sport. Where things were going right here. Where what we're going to be looking at technologically in the sport of demolition derby 3 years from where we are today, right this second, we probably can't even begin to guess what the peak end of that's going to be.
True.
There's still going to be subtle developments and stuff in between in terms by the part manufacturers and stuff, but that hot new thing might not even have been conceived yet. That's going to be a big deal in 3 years. So you got to leave yourself some wiggle room for that. But what I do like that I just heard in that quick bit from these guys is they try not to change them. They try not to. They'll take the input, but they try not to change them. So often we end up seeing that there's the reactionary moves.
Yes.
The painting with a broad stroke, the broad brush that is overreacting and starts trying to pigeonhole. So everybody gets these 4 and 5 page rule books where it's essentially NASCAR templates at this point. and while it has its place with what's going on with Palmetto, it's nice to see that. So if somebody does have something funky happen last year and they didn't have a chance to use up their car through the course of the summer for whatever reason, they're not so far out that they've got a car now that they can't do anything with.
Yeah, very, very true. And that's the thing. I mean, we've seen it relatively close to home where, unfortunately the rules aren't the same year to year. Like it's
huge swings.
Yeah, huge, just crazy things. And I think
the assumption's always told us, well, the stock guys are going to make the change to their car, and you can't.
No, and that's the thing. I mean, you're unfortunately you're never going to make everybody happy.
No,
it doesn't matter what your rules are. It doesn't matter how the inspection is. Somebody's going to complain. It just happens. but it's good to try to keep things close. And hey, these guys said theirs are kind of mirrored after Dead Man, which is great. You know what I mean? The more places you can take a car and use it up is obviously great. So, and I definitely agree. Seeing cars bend is definitely a highlight. We've been to some shows where they went for hours and all they were doing was scratch and paint, and we ended up talking about wrestling at 4:00 in the morning. But that was an experience. So I hear nothing but good things, going forward. So, hopefully we can get some people to come out and check it out.
How many shows have you guys got scheduled for this year? I know there was a couple of them on the Carolina Derby Promotions webpage.
Yeah, we've got 5 scheduled, and we're actually going to do a little point series this year among our 5 shows. Have a banquet at the end of the year with championships and that kind of stuff. So we was hoping to find another venue in 2023 for Blue Ridge Bash, but that's not looking like it's going to happen. So we'll try to come back with that in 2024. And another thing, going back to a while ago, what Jason was saying, we've been very fortunate at our shows for it to be a fast-paced show. I think Heats was 15 minutes maybe, and the main last year was what, 35 minutes.
Awesome.
So
Perfect.
We've been very fortunate with that, and the drivers seem to get on with it pretty good. So
What was the circumstance with Blue Ridge and the, I can't remember the name of the venue that was in Wytheville?
the Apex Center.
Yes.
They're leasing it out to a hockey team. And what happened was, and I don't know who was for it, who was against it, but it got political. One political group built the facility.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then the powers changed, and the other political group pulled the funding from the facility. So there they are, it's shut down, trying to lease it. So a hockey team leased it, and they actually reached out about still having the Derby, but I hadn't heard anything back from them in about a month or two. So we're going to try to find another location for it somewhere in Virginia. I think that's a good location.
Yeah, I do too. Right off of 81. It's like Wytheville is where Wytheville Raceway was, where Fred Brown's track. Well, I think that's technically Rural Retreat, but the track that I worked at down there.
It just blows my mind how something like this can happen. I mean, here's a successful show. Everybody's happy with it. I'm sure the town was happy with it. People are coming in, and nope, we're going to shut it down, and you're not going to do that anymore.
And it wasn't, but I think the venue was 4 or 5 years old. They spent millions to build it, and they just shut it down. So it's crazy.
I'm sure the taxpayers are happy about that.
And then I think I'm right here. It was going to be around $250,000 worth of renovations that they're going to have to do for the hockey team.
Holy cow!
Yeah.
Well, yeah, 'cause I'm sure they're going to have to put in some sort of.
You got to put in the biggest thing that you're going to have to put in is drainage.
Well, not only that,
and the freezers.
Yeah, you're going to have something to keep that ice.
Depending on what it was before, yeah, it's not going to be good. It's not going to be.
But
that was a fun show. We really enjoyed doing it. That area, those drivers, so we're hoping to bring that back next year.
Yeah, those drivers look at bills a little bit different.
Yeah.
That neck of the woods it gets really close to like Wild Bill territory, Gokenauer territory. Those builders know how to put
bring
stuff.
Cars with straight front axles.
It's happened before.
Oh goodness!
So you got the point series coming together, and Palmetto's going to be the kickoff for that, or is the Palmetto show going to be an outlier to a summer series?
No, it's going to be the kickoff to it. Jeffy, he's sponsoring the whole point series, so we're thankful for that. We got a ton of vendors coming to Palmetto too that I'm happy about, because people around here they're not used to having vendors, and they can pick up their parts at the show and save some money on shipping.
Mm-hmm.
Whereabouts in North Carolina do you guys have shows?
Shelby, North Carolina, which is about an hour from Charlotte. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We have 3 there. We have a May show, and then we have 2 in October. And then our other show will be in Gastonia, North Carolina.
Okay.
And that'll be our five Derby series. So we're looking forward to that. Something different, something neat. The guys can get some recognition at the end of the year. We're going to do custom racing jackets for the winners.
Nice.
Cool.
So,
I think the dirt track at Lowe's would be an awesome place to have a
I don't know.
I've sent some emails, but I hadn't got a response on that.
I don't know.
Wasn't Alex Hogue doing some promotions for that track at one point?
I don't remember. I can remember back when Humpy was still running both, obviously the big track and the dirt track at Lowe's. I remember being in a drive, and I'd forgot about it until I listened to one of Tim McCready's interviews this offseason. And Humpy wasn't a huge fan of dirt or dirt racing.
Yeah.
They were talking about how the first year they went down there, the track was like 70 or 80 foot wide on the backstretch. You could like run modifieds like 4 wide down the backstretch racing. And all of a sudden he pushed these tires out in the middle of the track. And guys like Bob McCready and Jack Johnson and Danny Johnson, what are you doing? Well, across the road, they can run NASCARs 3 wide and 35 feet. I don't understand why you guys can't do that over here. So they don't really, at the time, they didn't really get the whole dirt thing. So I don't even know who puts it on or who's the promoter. But yeah, that's if I hit the lottery for that 1 point whatever billion dollars it is, I'll put on one. We'll put one on there and it'll be big. It'll rival the World Finals in October.
Well, you can jump online. Are you guys still exploring options for the Blue Ridge show for this year, or is that off the table? You're going to stick with the schedule that you've got at this point?
We'll probably stick with the schedule we got. I don't know. I'm afraid if we found something, it would have to be in the October, November range at this point, and there's just so much going on that time of year, I think, to try to have something, especially in that area, because you've got you got the fall show at Dead Man, Frankie guys got several shows, Chaos in the Valley, so I don't think that would be a good time frame for us. So I think we're going to try to shoot for 2024 on that.
I think that's a good plan, and it's great to hear promoters say that, hey, I'm not going to just throw it out there. And that's sometimes we've found some promoters that don't think quite pro Derby, and it's pro them. So that's great to hear. Hopefully you guys find a place for next year. That would be awesome. Anytime there's a new, not a new, but the continuance of a good Derby, that's great for the sport.
Yeah.
Well, we're certainly looking forward to getting down there. We're going to be getting in Friday and then driving up on Friday late morning and early afternoon to get everything in place for the show. Todd and the rest of the guys from Iron City are going to be down there a little bit ahead of that. But we're definitely looking forward to getting down there and taking in the show at Palmetto. It worked good with the schedule for everybody, so this is certainly something that should be on the radar, that there's some conversation happening up here about, and it's a close enough drive to where hopefully we see some New York and Pennsylvania style driving making the trip down.
Absolutely.
Because it fits. Everything really fits for what we're used to seeing on the East Coast.
Last year, Furr actually had to pick it up a little bit because it came down to him and Steve, and Furr had to use that pedal on the right that sometimes he's a big fan of. So, of course, I'm kidding. Jonathan Furr is a good friend and great driver. But it was a good show last year, man. Action packed. I'm looking forward. I'm very excited to get down there and make the call with Chris. So can't wait to get down there, guys.
And we got a guy on the wall. He tries to keep them turned up too, Yank.
Yep.
Yes, he's not going to want to see any bagging either. So
yeah, that's great.
Is there anybody that you guys wanted to make mention of before we wrap it up for the night?
Yeah, I think, yeah, like I say, Yank and John Terry and Jamie Jones, they really help us out a lot with tech and everything. That they're with us at every show.
And Yank retiring after 4
Yeah.
years.
Yeah, Yank, he just Dead Man was his last show, so he says he's giving it up. So he goes and helps us, and he's been a big help because he's been around a long time. He's seen a lot of stuff. And just all of our other friends and families that go with us everywhere, and just help with whatever we need. You know, they're just always ready to help and do whatever, and that means a lot to us.
And the driver support means a lot too.
Yeah.
Well, you can jump online, Carolina Derby Promotions. They're busy on Facebook as well. You can look these guys up and straight up a conversation, ask them questions about the rules, explore your options for that point series, because it sounds like that's going to be something that you want to keep an eye on. It's never a bad time of year in the Carolinas.
Definitely not.
And check them out. And then, of course, you jump on DerbyNation.tv has the Iron City links for the promotion of the show. If for some reason you can't make it in person, you've always got the option to stay home and watch it on your own. We're going to be doing the production on that for both nights. I'm excited about bringing that down. It's the first time we've done an indoor derby, and I'm sure we're going to have our hands full, but we've got the able-bodied Vince on the job, so hopefully the young man that has been so good to us down there at New Alex is going to be able to help us through any of those challenges, and we'll be in good shape. But we're, like I said, man, I appreciate you making some time for us and coming on the show and hanging out for a little while. Stay in touch, and we'll probably be in touch the week of the show, too, to have you on one more time.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us on, and we'll see you in February.
All right, we'll see you soon.
Have a good one, guys.
Thank you.
That was Billy Monroe and Jason Padgett with Carolina Derby Promotions, talking about Palmetto Destruction, which is coming up in Florence, South Carolina. It's the Florence Center in the city of Florence. A lot of Florence all over the place. It's a stop, easy to get to, man, and plenty of places to stay. So it's going to be something. I'm looking forward to it. We do have one more break queued up, so we're going to go tell you about All for Him Racing. It's going to be I think it's going to be one of the last times we have this spot, because he's got most of his stuff from the 2022 retrospectives wrapped up. So we got the All for Him spot, and then we've got some audio adjustments here, so we'll at least be able to get you some of those details on Bash for Cash and Capital City Carnage. We'll be right back to wrap things up on 425 after this.
Where'd you go?
We did the derby.
Ow, my head! You want to do a derby?
Hey Derby World, this is All for Him Racing Videos, where Derby never ends. We have people come up and ask, what is All for Him Racing Videos? And the answer is a YouTube channel dedicated to growing the sport of demolition derby in a positive and fun way. Our passion is to show the next generation the sport and capture the memories for generations to come. We're just trying to show that you can be a Christian, do crazy and exciting things like demolition derby, and just spread the word. We have traveled all over the country filming events, all while meeting many great people, hearing amazing stories, seeing the passion for this sport, and falling in love with the derby community. We have grown to be the largest demolition derby channel on YouTube across the world, with millions of views within our large library of videos. We love what we do and can't wait for what the future has in store. We always want to be a place for positive, exciting, and action-packed derby videos. Thank you, Derby World, and enjoy the videos.
Fashion Demolition Derby wants to say thanks out to all the drivers, the dozens of partners, the fairs and staff, everybody that
Made 2022 a successful season. Looking ahead, Smash is going to be at the annual SMW Motorsports Expo and the promoter meetings. For plans for 2023 as they come together, for classes, rules, fairs, and all the updates and everything, you can visit SmashDemolitionDerby.com online. Before we get into the county fair season, however, they do have Capital City Carnage waiting in the wings. Street Stock World Class is going to be 5 one-and-dones, $5,000 to win, March 3rd and 4th at the Stormont Vale Event Center in Topeka, Kansas. Thursday is going to be heat draws at 7 o'clock. Heat draws start at 7 on Thursday. Friday and Saturday, the pits open at 9:30. Limited Weld is going to be a $10,000 to win show. Weld Compacts, $2,500 to win. Two-man extreme class, front-wheel drive hobo, front-wheel drive minivan hobo, and front-wheel drive youth hobo are all paying $2,500 to win. All the start times are in the Central Time Zone. It's only going to be streamed on DerbyNation.tv. Additional details for Capital City Carnage, March 3rd and 4th, are online at SmashDerby.com. You can also find out more about the Bash for Cash, that gigantic outdoor show, May 26th, 27th, and 28th at the Ross County Fairgrounds in Chillicothe, Ohio. Big format change is going to be the three-man pro stocks, $30,000 to win. Smash It full size paying $10,000 to win. Smash It minis $10,000 to win. All the one and dones $2,500 to win. Friday 7 o'clock start time. 3-man pro stock team heats. Pits open at 8 o'clock. Saturday 3 o'clock start for the Power Wheels. 4 o'clock is the Pro Stock Team Constellations and the Smash It Mini Heat Street Stock Full Size, Smith Metalworks Youth Full Size, Street Stock Minivan and SUV, Frank the Tank 70s Wire Class, Smash It Full Size, caps the night. Pits open at 8 a.m. Sunday 1 o'clock start for Championship Day, Smash It Minis Constellation Round, Youth Mini, Street Stock Mini, the Relic Class, the Smash It Mini feature, and then the 3-man Pro Stock Team feature. Pits open at 8 o'clock. Again, all the details on Bash for Cash and everything to do with Smash It Demolition Derby is available online at SmashItDerby.com. And we are back wrapping things up here on episode number 425. Blizzard Bash is coming up right around the corner. Do you know that?
Be here before you know it.
Well, the virtual Blizzard Bash is coming up. It's going to be next weekend, January 20 and 22nd. So
Is that presented by Crash Course?
No. I think Smash is behind that one. It's going to be using the video game cars, RDP cars and stuff like that. Alliance, James Logson's got behind that. And thanks for asking. Sunday was awesome.
How was it?
It was great. There was a lot of threes going around.
Yeah, no doubt.
Up there in Buffalo.
So do you think the opening kickoff was fixed? Like they did
No.
on purpose?
No, come on. Are you kidding me? Do you think anything in the NFL is fixed?
No, definitely not. It was great to see. We were actually at Saturday night. My family and I went over to my dad's, and my brother had stopped to see him as well. And my brother goes, "Holy cow!" And I said, "What?" And he said, there was just a tweet from DeMar. And then it wasn't 30 seconds later, it had it up on the game that was playing. I will be the first to admit I thought things were going to turn out terrible, and I've never been so happy to be wrong. People can believe what they want, but there's a reason he's still here. There's a reason, hats off to the incredible medical staffs. Hats off to him for having himself in the condition he was in to survive something like that. Hats off just to everybody. It was an amazing thing. His charity raised almost $8 million or just over $8 million. It's great to see when people come together for to support. It's nothing short of a miracle, in my humble opinion.
Did I tell you about the ticketing issue?
No.
So the battle pack that we got to see the 3 home AFC East games put us in line to get playoff tickets if we wanted them.
Nice.
But before week 18, we had to opt out of the automatic charge. So we are now enrolled, because the email went to trash, we are now enrolled in a pay-as-they-play situation. So the seats that we had, we're going to be charged for whether we sit in them or not for the playoff games. So we're going to the playoff game. We're going to be up there in the stands on Sunday. I'm very much looking forward to that. Seeing another game against the Dolphins is going to be very exciting.
Playing. They should wipe the field.
They should, but I also saw that Micah Hyde has been activated, so they got 21 days to get him playing, and Jameson Crowder was reactivated as well.
Yep.
So I'm very excited about Sunday. I'm very excited for nothing else. I'm excited for Melissa, because she is just beside herself at this
Well, I mean,
as a whole is happening.
Yeah, it's definitely awesome. My Giants are in. They got a winning record, playoffs. I think we have a good chance of beating Minnesota. So, like I said, I posted on a Facebook, man, this is all just, it's strawberries and whipped cream on top. So I'm happy. I think the best 3 teams in football, our best 4 teams, obviously, are the Eagles, who didn't look good against the Giants, San Fran, and I think the Bills and KC are pretty even. Cincinnati, I'm just not sold on for some reason. I don't know, but I'm not sold on them. And all those teams could lose Sunday and Saturday, and that could look like an idiot. It's that's why they play the game. So this is a very exciting time of year for football fans, except that it means football is almost over. But the XFL starts in October or in February.
It's coming up.
And then the USFL starts in April or May. So we're close to having Derby year-round, and we're close to having football year-round. So
can't go wrong.
It's almost perfect.
Almost a perfect world. Yep, for sure. And how's Keith doing?
Like a roller coaster.
Yeah.
Like a roller coaster. Again, we're blessed. We are definitely blessed. I'm blessed. I'll leave it at that.
Kelsey was going over to my aunt's house to play with my cousin's 2 little ones, and I was concerned that my mom was going with them over there, and my dad had decided he was going to put all the Christmas decorations that she'd boxed up away on the shelves. So I just said, hey, if he needs a hand, let me know. And she goes, no, I think he's good out there in the garage, but you're welcome to come over and hang out. So I was going to go over there and hang out just in case, and ended up floating the idea about going up to Dan's Crafts and things. My dad is really he sold all of his N scale and is now into HO scale model trains. But my uncle has always been into model trains and hasn't been an avid collector of model trains forever, and I don't think he has ever assembled a section of track. Really? He's just collected all of it, and he's always put it off. He's going to do it later, and he's had two cardiac issues, and I finally went to my dad because he's been in the hospital with the inflammatory reactions and stuff, and I said, look, you're waiting for this perfect offer, you're waiting for this perfect buy, for this perfect whatever. You're going to end up like your uncle if you don't figure this thing out, because you're going to just collect all this stuff and you're waiting for this perfect thing. Let's go see what there is to see. Well, there were some pieces that he was missing. There was some stuff that he wanted. They had more stuff up there at Dan's Crafts and things, and he really enjoyed it. So I think we'll probably get a chance to go up there a couple more times, but the kids weren't done playing yet. So we sat at the kitchen table, and my gosh, the conversations that we had, it was one of the best days that I've had with my dad ever.
That's awesome.
We learned all sorts of stuff about family history. We learned about Waterloo and what he was doing as a kid, and when he moved back from Rochester back to Waterloo, he was living with the Averys, who had the taxi company downtown, who always had leftover Furies because they drove the Geneva police cars when they were done. And the Averys owned on the road a '69 Imperial. It was the road car. They used to. It was just really, really cool. He had a vase that he did when he was in high school. He was in, I think he said he was in Irondequoit then. He was in Irondequoit, and this art teacher loved this vase. And he's like, it's a vase. It's a slab vase. I put it together. It's a slab vase made out of clay. It looks like clay. It's a vase. And ultimately, the art teacher liked it so much, they submitted it to a competition. It placed, and it was on display in the Rochester Museum of Art for a while.
No kidding.
Yep. He doesn't know whatever happened to it. When he was in high school, he had a piece of art on display in the Rochester Museum.
That's crazy.
I mean, it's back in the 60s.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
So we're talking about family and stuff. I was at the gym before we got here with my youngest, Nicholas, and Nick is into football. Nick is into weightlifting, but he's not, like, he isn't into racing like Zach and I are. And he's not. He's into derbies if I'm running, but otherwise he's
Yeah.
So I got Flow Racing this year, and I've been watching the Chili Bowl this week. So we were talking about something, and I said, I'd like to watch the Chili Bowl Saturday. I said, there's like 47 heats and last chance.
Alphabet soup, yeah.
And he's like, Chili Bowl. He's like, oh yeah, that race thing. And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I know you're too cool for it. And he's very witty. He looks at me and he goes, if I wanted to see things drive around in circles, I'd build the train and put it in my room and watch it. And I'm like, oh my God, you little. And I'm like, I'm telling your father or your grandfather and your uncle you said that. And we both got laughing. He's like, well, it took me a minute to come up with something like that. I'm just like, dang, kid. But it's just funny, you know what I mean? Like, you know, and I don't care. I mean, you know, he does what he wants and, or, you know, what he enjoys, and it's all good. But I was just like, wow, that was pretty good comeback. So, you know, it's neat. You know, just to hang out sometimes and talk and that stuff. And I will treasure forever, you know, being out in the garage with Dad and hearing his stories and, you know, the stuff they did, and wondering how he made it to age 85. And but you know, it's something to last forever, man. It doesn't get any better.
Alex Vasco was in the chat, and he said in South Carolina they do other stuff. There's racing, there's rock climbing, there's mud bogging, stuff like that. It's
Yeah,
something
and
caught in
it's-
demolition derby. And it is a different. Demolition derby is definitely a culture thing.
Yeah, and that's. I mean, I was actually going to ask these guys. I know racing is real big. I mean, I know my father-in-law was in the Marines. He was stationed in at Camp Lejeune, and there was a racetrack not far from there, and they used to go all the time. And I know racing gets, and that's right around the area where racing does start getting big. You know, the late models and sprints and midgets and all that good stuff. So, you know, obviously Florida's huge with the racing. So, you know, it kind of is what it is. But, you know, hopefully we can help them make a little dent and, you know, maybe turn this into a destination derby.
Crash Course has partnered up with Coke Racing Promotions and helping with their season, and Team Coke Iron City ended up winning over the weekend at New Year's Bash, and the Reckless, what did we have in the other cars? I think the other cars were Coke Reckless Abandoned, and they finished fourth. Nice. So that was kind of cool. And then the Nasty Boys, they were out there too, and they were doing what they do, so it was good to see how all those results were coming
Have
together.
you been doing any driving lately, or you just officiating?
No, I haven't really. I've been painting cars and sending them to people that are running. I really haven't been able to do a whole lot lately.
I've seen some really nice stuff. You've obviously, you know, back when you used to like me more, you used to send me pictures of stuff you've done, but you don't do that anymore. So I've seen other people's
You got to keep them under
pictures.
wraps until it's time for the show.
I've seen other people's pictures. You've had some really nice skins you've made.
Did you see the?
No, I didn't see that one.
Did you see the camper?
No.
Did you see the school bus?
No.
I'll have to send you some pictures. Of
Oh
those.
wow! After the fact, that's great.
They haven't run yet.
Oh okay.
Yeah,
Well,
they're still
better now.
They're still fresh.
Okay.
No, I have not been. I don't even know when the last time I turned that computer on, honestly. I bet you it's been, well, actually, that's not true. It was Sunday because I had to do a motorsports column this week. But, yeah, it's been a little while. School has been consuming a lot of
Don't you hate it when
a lot
work
of
gets in the
time.
way?
I know. Yeah. Happens. you gotta work all life so that you can die.
And then the dadding stuff you've been doing, busy with kids playing sports.
Oh my gosh, there's not much in terms of the way sports for our kids right now, but we've been encouraging them that they should look into playing something in the spring.
Cool.
So that's coming. It's just been mostly just.
Do you think the other one will pick up running like their father?
I would like him to pick up running in the spring to help the summer conditioning to get ready for the fall season, is what I would like to see happen. Now, being a father-son relationship, I'm the dumbest person on the planet. So it's going to take somebody with a coaching background who knows what they're speaking of to actually make that drive home. But we'll see. I always enjoyed track. I was able to reconnect with a couple of former student athletes, I guess is the best way to say it. Some students who were athletes when I was working for the newspaper.
Oh, cool.
Who are now graduating from college and getting student teaching jobs.
How awesome is that?
It's cool, but I feel real old. Like one of the kids that was subbing today, I had him when he was in 8th grade. And I felt really old then.
You know, it was it hit me when kids that I had in flag football started graduating high school.
Yeah.
You're just like, damn, that's crazy. One other thing I want to throw out there, and if Chris gets upset with me, then he can fire me. A friend of my son's, he's trying to get into film school at RIT. He and some other friends, including my son, put together a movie, all like zero budget. It's called Ant Hill. There's a link it's on YouTube. It's on my Facebook page. If anybody's interested that's listening, send me a message and I can send you. Pretty cool. It starts out.
It's very cool.
I was very happy and I felt very special. Obviously they watched it together as a group when they got it all done and got it all edited. the first time they watched it with any parents, it was at our house.
Yeah.
All the kids came out and they watched it with Crystal and I, and Nick was there.
The premiere.
Yeah, the premiere. So that was awesome. I felt really, I love these kids. I truly do. Zach's got some really good friends, and I love the kids. But again, it's called Ant Hill. It starts out kind of goofy looking, but then it kind of takes you on a little bit of a ride. And it's based on a true story. It was the Ant Hill cult, which is kind of scary if you want to Google that. But check it out. They're up over 1,000 views. They watched it at our house the first time last Friday. I think he went public with it Saturday, maybe Friday night, but over 1,000 views. So he's
That's
absolutely
really cool.
tickled. Check it out. It's pretty cool. I think we could. Some people would like it.
Awesome. There's some thriller fans out there, and like you said, for a still shot camera that had video recording ability, it was pretty well done.
Yeah,
I liked it.
And that's Friday night. I watched it, and obviously, I'm a little biased because, like I said, I love these kids. I've watched them grow up. So I sent it to Chris because he went to school for a lot of the same stuff, and he's pretty good at what he does. So I sent it to him, and it was funny. Like some of the reactions we had, like when you sent me the Bray Wyatt thing during the one part of the movie, I'm like, dude, I was just thinking the same thing. Like Bray Wyatt's gonna pop out. So it was awesome. Chris enjoyed it. So yeah, just if you get a chance, check it out. And
It was fun.
Yeah.
It was very fun.
So
Yep.
yeah, that's my shameless plug.
Perfect. Well, on that note, 425 is in the books. I'm waiting for this one. I'm surprised we got through it this far without you saying anything.
For what?
425.
What about it?
That's the never mind. That's the number that I put on all my video game derby cars. So I never got real ones.
Oh, honestly, I was thinking of 426 Hemi next week.
Next week. Well, stick around for next week then too, because we'll talk.
The most powerful production motor in America.
It's very true. Do you know my dad worked at Seneca Falls Machine on 5 and 20? We passed it on the way here, and they built the machines that built the parts.
Really?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he was on the team as a machine operator and worked with the engineers, because the engineers put stuff together and tell you how to build stuff, and the people that are running the machine shop work with the apprentices and the foreman work together to tell the engineers where they're wrong.
Yeah,
and that's how it works. But my dad was involved in the production of a torsion bar and a swing arm on the Sherman tanks. Abram tank? What's the newer one?
Abram.
The Abram. On the Abram tank, the machine, they sent them the part and said, we need a machine that can build this. And they developed it there.
Wow.
The output shaft on the Turbo 400 or the TH 400, one of the GM transmissions, they gave them the output shaft and said, we need a machine that can cut and make it this size, make us the machine. And they made the machine. And I think there was something that was doing the water journals on a Pontiac 400.
No kid.
The machine that cut those came out of Seneca Falls.
That's awesome.
Yep. They had a special releaser on the swing arms, on the torsion bar, because this cutter came down. It would cut the channel for it to sit, and they would have to release it a certain time. Well, the timing was off on the specs, and one of the engineers didn't know it, and all of them released at the same time. So the torsion bar, which is made to flex a little bit, starts slapping around, starts knocking pulleys off. It busted the cutter. No, it was jumping up. I mean, the length of this cutter is huge. And it was jumping up and down on the floor, and somebody had the wherewithal. It was the 70s then. They were able to catch the stop all button before everything went really, really bad.
In the 70s, there wasn't great safety technology. Hard to believe.
I learned that on that day too. It was just really cool to learn that little piece of history about Seneca Falls, and
that's awesome.
And that even back then, the floor people and the engineers butted heads.
Hard to believe.
What do you got here? We'll come back around for the Hemi episode next week. Take care. Enjoy this one, and we'll see you next week. Thanks a lot. The Crash Course Live is presented by Smash It Demolition Derby, who host Bash for Cash, Blizzard Bash, and Capital City Carnage. Online at smashitderby.com. And Stirring Dirt Racing, host of May Mania's team show at the Golden Spike Arena in Ogden, Utah, online at stirringdirtracing.com. Reckless Abandon Derby Apparel, and Derby Inc. Magazine. This is the Crash Course Demolition Derby podcast, recorded live at the FingerLinks1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York.